Did it, man.
Okay, so I think this is day 8 of the trip. We've stayed at this really nice hotel. It's about 12 kilometers outside of Marrakech. So from here we're heading to Casablanca, and then we're going to head up the coast to Rabat, which is our final stop for tonight. The Domaine du Douar, which is a really fantastic little place, but if you look at the road to get here, would not think it. We did all wonder where Pablo was taking us. But lovely hotel, really nice pool, heated pool, the rooms are comfortable, air conditioned, a nice bar. Quite a long day today, I think 377 kilometers, but we're one man down. Adrian had a run-in with one of the hotel cats and got bitten, so he's jumped in the van today to go off to the clinic to get a rabies booster. Hopefully he should be fine, but there's no point in taking any risks with that sort of stuff. He'll loop up with us again at the hotel at the end of the day. Anyway, I'm whittering on. You don't want to listen to me whitter on. I'll show you what happens on this leg of the trip. Unfortunately, on this leg of the trip, there isn't really a lot to show you, but it might get a bit more rolling as we get closer to Casablanca. But it's just one of those days where we've got to slog the mileage out to get things done. What a day that was. If I look knackered, it's because I am. We had well over 9 hours in the saddle. Everybody's absolutely shattered, but we're here at our riad in Rabat now. I think we're going to have a quick shower, go out for something to eat, and I think most people are going to hit the sack because we've got a shortish run tomorrow, about 240 kilometers up to Tangier. The idea is we get there for about lunchtime and we can have the afternoon in Tangier, and then we stay there to get the ferry back over to the Spanish mainland on Thursday morning. So it is Wednesday morning. We're leaving Rabat. We stayed in Old Town last night. We're heading today to Tangier. But yeah, interesting place, Rabat. Had a walk around the Medina last night. Different to the others. Well, same kind of Medina, lots of little narrow streets. Not really touristy. All of the stalls were for food or hardware or bits and pieces like that. He was telling me there's better for the shade. He goes round. Digging in. Okay. The full works.
The pressure.
What do we think of the hotel, guys?
Wow, it's amazing. Feels like coming home, man. This is what home looks like.
This is your lounge.
This is the view.
So here we go, the final morning. Just leaving Tangier, stayed at the Farah Hotel, which is very nice. We've got about 37 kilometres around to Tangier Med Port, and then we've got to go through all the dull customs and immigration bits and pieces and change money back and all that sort of stuff. The intention was to show you a little bit of the what is a nice coastal road up to the port, but the weather may well put paid to that. Once we're over the other side off the ferry, we've just got a boring motorway run back up to our hotel in Malaga, so not worth including that in the video. It has been an absolutely fabulous trip. It's been a really good group of guys. We've got Mark in front, Jeroen and Adrian behind me, the two Dutch guys, and Robin at the back, the other Englishman. Everybody's gotten well, everybody's had a whale of a time, and it's been nice that people have been looking out for each other. It's worked really, really well. Anyway, I'll talk more about that and my thoughts later. We're just going to get this drizzly ride to the port out of the way. So I mentioned earlier on in the video that I tried to pass on a couple of tips if you're coming this way for the first time. One of the tips that I'll definitely give you is allow plenty of time for your ferry crossings. Get there a couple of hours before, because you never know how long it's going to take to go through customs and immigration and what problems there may be, and the amount of paperwork that they want to see and all that sort of stuff. So just on the safe side, just leave as much time as you can. You just have to remember that, you know, you're not in Europe anymore, and things are done differently and things take a little bit longer. How are you feeling, Jeroen?
It's good.
It's good?
Yeah.
Happy?
Good. Happy. It was a good
Happy.
trip.
Good.
Really enjoyed.
What was your highlight of the trip?
I think before the desert we were in that small village where it was really back to basic. What I really enjoyed was like Morocco, really like how I expect Morocco to be.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the food and the people, they were so kind.
Yeah, it was a nice
The
hotel.
landscape, it was beautiful. Yeah, it was really, really, I think, the best part for my trip.
Perfect.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, Adrian, there's a lot to pack in those 12 days, 11 days, but what was the one thing that stood out?
Difficult to say, but I think
there's no better way to explore such a beautiful country as Morocco by bike, especially these touring bikes are phenomenal. It's the best way to explore because you have like the 360 degrees around you, riding.
Would you go back to Morocco?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was excellent.
Cool.
And also a very cool group, excellent organization.
Yeah, nice guys. Yeah, good.
Top-notch bikes. So
Yeah, cool.
so happy.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Adrian.
Thank you so much.
So, Robin, I've been having a chat to the guys. I've been asking everybody about their trip and if they could, what their highlight was, if they were going to pick one highlight of the trip, which is difficult given what we've done, but what would your highlight of the trip be?
I think the highlight would be the river crossing, I think, or rather river crossings.
Yes.
We did a few successfully, and we also found out there were some people the day after who weren't successful. That makes it feel all the more, of an achievement.
I'll get them from Joan and put some images on the video because, the day after we came through, there was 7 bikes totaled, got completely washed away.
Completely washed away. But also the hill. I mean, we had seaside, we had mountains, we had desert, we had a storm and rain in the desert, which I've never experienced before. The camel ride, it was all amazing. It was all just amazing. Yeah.
Cool.
And obviously, all the guys, good group, which makes all the difference, I think. Yeah.
Excellent. Lovely. Thank you, Robin.
Ciao.
And I've got my last victim, Mark. I've just been asking people what their highlight of the trip was. If you had to pin it down to one highlight, obviously there's so much that we've done, but what would your highlight be?
For me, leaving the desert, travelling across the Atlas Mountains with all the dramatic scenery, I think it encompasses the whole trip, and it made the best use of these amazing bikes from Revv Travel.
Yeah, the bikes have been good.
Yeah, and I think for me, the long sweeping bends and the guidance being taken through those difficult sections, for me, it sort of really made the trip.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay, farewell Morocco. Hi. Ticket, yep.
For you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Up the top, yep. Well, I'm back here in Malaga where this adventure started 11 days ago. And there's a mixture of feelings. I'm exhausted, I'm elated. I'm going to have a shower, have a little bit of a break before dinner. And I think the best opportunity for me to sum up my thoughts and give you some more information is once I've had a time to ponder it and I'm back home. So I'll speak to you then. So I'm back in the comfort of my office and I've had time now to sort of digest the trip and what it was all about, and it was absolutely fantastic. It was the trip of a lifetime. Amazing scenery, amazing roads, amazing people, amazing food. It is just superb. Obviously I was a little bit ill, and that's probably the first thing I'll start with, is make sure you take some medication, some Imodium and bits and pieces like that. Water generally isn't safe to drink from the tap, so you will get bottled water everywhere. I would suggest taking hand sanitizer and some wipes as well. You can ensure that the food is hot and the water is sealed, but you've obviously got glasses and cutlery and things like that, so just being able to give those a wipe down and use hand sanitizer now and again will minimise that risk. Let's talk a little bit about prices and what you get involved. Now, the Moroccan Odyssey tour starts at €3,990. What do you get for that? Well, Obviously you get the bike rental, you get all of the insurances needed for that. You get all of the hotels which are pre-booked. You get breakfast, lunch and evening meals included in that as well, with the exception of the 2 rest days. And that's purely because they give you the option to go off and do what you want to do. So you're not tied into the group if you don't want to spend the time with the group on those days. So all you need to do is fend for yourselves for those. In terms of snack breaks, so if we stop for tea or coffee in the morning and in the afternoon, you're responsible for the cost of that. Ferry crossings are also included in that price, of course. So what do you have to pay for yourself? Well, you have to pay for your fuel and you have to pay for your trip to Malaga to get to the start point. Malaga's a hub where you get quite a lot of budget airlines flying to, so that's not normally a problem to get a really reasonable price flight to there, and obviously snacks, which I've already spoken about. Now in terms of fuel pricing, you're looking at somewhere between, it varied between 11 to 15 dirhams per litre, so that's about just over £1 to £1.30 a litre. You do have to be careful, it can be scarce in some of the villages, so you do have to plan for that. But as I say, going with a guided tour means that you don't really have to think about that yourself. I budgeted about £400-ish for fuel and snacks, and I was actually able to change back some dirhams before I came back. Admittedly, I didn't take part in the dune buggy riding. That was an extra charge, so that would have taken it out. But places like that, you've got the ability to put that on a credit card, but having cash when you're out and about is essential, I would say. Cash is king over there. Lots of places won't take cards. Most of the fuel stations are okay with that, but not all of them. So the best thing to do is to get local currency and keep some cash with you. Now, talking about that, the dirham is a closed currency, so you can't buy that in advance. You can only change up once you're in. So once you're through customs, there's a little area on the left hand side which has money changers and SIM card providers. I think sometimes people think, well, as soon as I go through and I'm kind of a captive audience here, I'm going to get ripped off. That wasn't the case there. The rate that we had on the money exchange was pretty much the same as we saw at any other of the places around the country. And the SIM deals were the same thing. I got a 20 gig SIM card with a local provider, and that cost me 100 dirhams. Now the 20 gig was plenty enough for what I needed. If I wanted to roam internationally on my plan, I was looking at £12 a day. So that would have come out at 120 odd pounds for the trip, as opposed to £10 for the SIM card. And we used Inwi, which is one of the local providers. Perfect coverage, no issues with that at all. And the people there at that centre were really helpful. Set the SIM up, installed it. If you want to do an eSIM, they can do that as well. So I'd recommend getting all of that done where it's actually a little bit quieter at customs. Quick word about customs. Don't film anything going through there. I was constantly being told not to film because I had a camera on my helmet. Although it wasn't on, they're very sensitive to that sort of stuff. No cameras, no photographs. So keep that all out of sight. Drones are illegal. I was initially going to take my drone out there to get some really nice footage. They will be confiscated if they find them in your luggage, and there's a good chance that if you try to fly it when you're out there, you will get stopped and it will get confiscated. So drones are a no-no. Also, strangely, or maybe not strangely, but maps. Adrian had a map, a paper map that he took with him to sort of mark out the route at the end of each day to keep as a souvenir. That was actually confiscated. There is this politically sensitive issue with the Western Sahara. So some maps can be deemed to be subversive, and his was taken away and confiscated and destroyed. So just bear that in mind if you do take a map out there that you want to mark up. In terms of documentation, well, if you're on this trip, obviously you need your passport. I did get an international driver's permit, but I never had to show that anywhere, but it might be handy to do. That's cheap and easy to do here in the UK before you go. Obviously, Revv Travel provided all the documentation for the bike. If you're taking your own bike, I'm not entirely sure exactly what you need, but you'll need the V5 certainly an original copy of that and insurance details. Once you get onto the ferry, there is a customs office on board. Head straight to that, give them the bike paperwork and your passport. They will give you a temporary import permit for the bike and will issue you with what is essentially a credit card sized piece of white cardboard. Do not lose that piece of cardboard. Guard it with your life, because that is the only evidence that you've got that you've brought that bike into the country legally. If you lose that and you get stopped by police, you will at the very minimum get a fine. Potentially the bike could get impounded, and it's going to get really complicated for you. So make sure you keep hold of that piece of card, and then on a return visit you hand that back to them and they book it out. Just make sure you do not lose it. Funnily enough, I was just going to show you that. I brought it home. I managed to keep it for the entire trip. I brought it home for the intention of using it here. Can I find it? Can I hell? Riding in Morocco is pretty straightforward. The roads are good. The signage is clear. Bikes tend to be given a little bit of space. They're certainly given an easy time by the police. You ride through lots of police checks, as you've seen. We didn't get stopped at any single one of them. No, I'm not too concerned about that. They'll just wave you through. Most of the driving is okay. You just have to be careful. Actually, in the cities, which we thought was going to be hideous, it's busy, but it's not particularly dangerous. People seem to know what they're doing. They do give way. It's just one of those places where quite often the biggest vehicle wins. But if you get in front, then you're okay. Road surfaces are pretty good. Obviously, the more remote you get, the rougher that they get. But there's been a huge program of road building or resurfacing been going on. So even Pablo said from the last time he was there at the back end of last year, there were big stretches of road that we rode which were lovely tarmac, and last time he said they were either broken up tarmac or were dirt. You do get that odd place where you come across roadworks and they'll just kick you off into the scrub on the side of the road. The Moroccan soap, as I referred to in the videos, that gets on the road can be very slippery, but if you take it easy, you'll have no problems. Turning my attention to clothing now, are there any tips that I can give you? I would say layering is probably key if you can do it, because you get a huge variance in temperatures. We had periods where we were at the top of the Atlas Mountains where it was 6 degrees and raining, and down in the desert we hit 32 degrees plus. So having the ability to cope with that change is important. I rode with the Climb Latitude jacket, which I'll bring a review of that actually in a few weeks. That's just an outer shell with armor in it. I also took with me long sleeve base layers. I had a mid layer, which is kind of a thin sort of fleece jacket, and I also had a down jacket, and I did need to use that on a couple of occasions. So being able to have a layered system that can deal with big swings in temperatures is good. A couple of pairs of gloves, a waterproof pair of gloves which are warm, as well as maybe lightweight summer gloves is a good idea. And waterproofs I think are essential now. They're probably going to be required at points through most of the year, but to be honest, once you're up in the mountains, that could be any time of year. Going on an organised trip like this, what it allows you to do is go and ride, take in the scenery, really milk in that Moroccan experience, and not have to worry about navigation, where you're going to stop for fuel, where you're going to stop for food, getting lost, coming across tricky terrain, all that sort of stuff. You've got that support there, and it allows you to really enjoy it, and Revv Travel do a really good job with that. So if you've got any other questions, then let me know and I'll try to answer those. Hopefully I'll do something with Revv again in the future, because I really enjoyed this trip and I really like the way they do this. But all that leaves me to say is thank you for watching, and until next time, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.